Hey guys, welcome to Approach the Nerd and our Arrowverse weekly recap. Although we are adding on another episode to this weekly recap because only The Flash played last week. So I decided to just add it on to this one. And I know I normally go in order of when they air, but I think I'm going to go in reverse since there are two episodes of The Flash. So I'm going to start with The Flash, then we'll move into Naomi, and then we'll do Superman and Lois last. If you hear music right now, if you're over here just like, oh, what's that? What's that beat? It's happening. StreamYard just released recently background music for live streams for their paying customers. Now just loop forever. And I'm just trying to see if I like this, if I'm going to continue putting them in live streams, or if it's going to drive me insane. So let's see what happens. And some more news. We are going to have our Charmed review. I will set up the stream after this one tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So right after Charm airs for me, about 30 minutes later, I will be reviewing it. We will also have Yashahime and the Owl House on Saturday, and I will be doing Kung Fu episodes 2 and 3 review, and I'll be posting them tomorrow. So I will play catch up, guys, because I know I've been super busy, and it's a thing. No, I just can't apologize enough, but such is life. All right, so let's jump in. The Flash, season 8, episode 7. We got to see Goldface again, and that was a very interesting episode. Now, I will say this. For me, I think it is really crazy that every time I see Kristen Kramer, first of all, I'm glad they made her Indigenous. I know I'm part Indigenous, so I know reps some Indigenous people. But every time I see her in a position of power over Barry Allen, and I'm speaking to my comic lovers, it's always funny to me because she was actually Barry Allen's forensic assistant in the comics, all the way up to, I believe, when we had the big speed spore storm and everybody started getting their miraculous powers, and of course Godspeed was created and all that crap. So she was always the apprentice type, to Barry. And not saying that they're not going to have that relationship, because they've established in this episode that he's going to end up training her in her metahuman abilities. So they will have that dynamic, but she was never the captain of Central CDPD, and she definitely was never Barry's boss. So I just find that entire thing, and I said this before when they first introduced her, that was extremely funny to me. But I digress. So a few things happened in this episode. So I'm going to start with my minor stuff, and then we'll talk about the other stuff. At the end of this episode, we see Iris, and Iris is having dinner with Joe. And they, she's congratulating him on making, I think he was making Ethiopian food, but you have to correct me if I'm wrong. I can't remember. But she was correcting him, and he was like, retirement. I'm learning to do all kinds of stuff because, I'm not the captain anymore. I got nothing to do but babysit my kid. And so he went off to get something. I guess maybe he was getting case files. It was something. And then there was a time skip, and he was coming back like at a different point in time. It's almost like a shift. Now, see, I don't know if that was supposed to represent when Bart and Nora fixed the timeline. I don't know if something is going on with Iris. I will tell you what I'm hoping happened. I'm hoping that we're getting some of her actual comic book origin come into play, because if you know about Iris West, she's not originally from their timeline. She's from the future, and her parents sent her back in time to save her life. So, I mean, they'd have to rework it because there was no Joe West. She didn't have an Uncle Joe West. She had a completely different, upbringing. But I would like that to be the thing. That is what her little glitch is that maybe something's happening, and her being in that timeline is messing stuff up, and it would kind of track because, she was also phasing in and out of time, last season. So I don't know. I would like for that to be the reasoning behind all of her time loopiness and issues, is that, maybe her time is catching up with her per se. I don't know. I just thought that was kind of cool. All right. So then we have the nonsense that is Caitlin being jealous of Frost and Chilblain, or Mark's relationship, where she's actually kind of bitchy to him, and thought that on their little double date that Frost would stand up for her, and she was all like, nah. Like, and they say bros before hoes. Well, I mean, boyfriends before sisters, I guess, because she was like, you're being a bitch. But Caitlin was basically in her feelings because she's scared to open herself up to relationships, and she's on this date with this guy, this doctor, and they've been kind of hitting it off, and she doesn't want to really take a chance because she's tired of being hurt. And instead, she chose to insult Frost and Mark's relationship, and it became this big thing. And by the end of it, Mark ended up being the one to give her a pep talk about putting her heart back out. It was ridiculous. I'm sorry. It was ridiculous. I'm sorry if you're a fan of that, but it was just really, it was interesting. I guess they just really need to find something for Caitlin to do because there's not a lot these days. It's a thing. We also had a minute Chester P moment where he finally got to be, at Star Labs, I guess mining everything by himself, and then him questioning himself if he's able to take a break. We have Allegro show up with his favorite sandwich. They still are doing this little cat and mouse, are we going to shit or get off the pot type relationship, will they, won't they situation, which honestly, I mean, they'd be a cute couple, but I'm just not that invested in it. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't care. I just really don't. And there really wasn't much to that. Like literally, there legitimately was not a lot to that. The main meat of this story was between Barry and Kramer, and of course, Goldface taking over, Central City Police Station. So like to the point where he puts these bracelets that inhibit mutant abilities, because of course he does, or metahumans, I said mutant, sorry, metahuman abilities, to the point where it was kind of like I get his logic. He was like, I don't know which one of you are metahumans. I am not taking any chances. So he just puts it on everybody. I will say I was surprised that Goldface did not take out Barry because he already had a grudge against Barry. I don't know why he didn't take him out, but immediately. But I guess more than likely it's because it's Barry and he has main character insurance, which I say all the time on these streams. But so long story short, Goldface is after the metahuman bullets that are basically able to take away a metahuman's ability that Kramer had developed. And he was on the assumption that they were being held at the police station, which Kramer is a captain of right now. And Kramer was already having a hard time because the Flash keeps dumping criminals there, which he also does in the comics a lot, and not really giving them any context. So it's like, all right, put these guys in jail. It's just like, well, fuck. Like, I mean, you gonna give them a reason? Some I don't know, some ally. I mean, you work in forensic science for the police. You need to have evidence to arrest these people. But I digress. He dumps him off, and she's like, well, great, now we got to run all these things and figure out all this stuff. So Barry's like, well, but the Flash does so much for the city, and this is how things have always been, basically implying when Joe was captain, and yada 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 yada. And she's like, all right, but I mean, I'm still the one that has to answer to the the higher ups, not you, and I need to know what I'm doing. I can't just put people in jail and not know what the probable cause is, and blah blah blah. And so Barry's like, well, I'll investigate everything, and then I'll get all the evidence for you, after she says he'll have to work overnight or whatever. And of course, he's a Flash, so he does it really quickly. So while they're talking, like actually right prior to that, like Joe, and I don't know why this happens. Joe always has to be like the voice of reason, but Joe and Cecile have like a tiny mini intervention with him saying, hey, Kramer probably should be be in the know with Team Flash and be able to reach you because, when I was captain, I always knew I could reach you because I knew you were the Flash. It's not like the same thing with her. She doesn't know. She has no idea that you're the Flash. So she has no idea how to reach you. So you're basically doing this trust thing, basically like the same thing Batman and Gordon do. And, that may not be too cool because, I mean, it's kind of like a one-sided relationship. You just dump people off, but she never gets to call you to help out with anything and yada, yada, yada. And he's like, I'm in my feelings. I don't really want to do that. So then, of course, Goldface takes over, puts the bracelets on it, and it becomes basically this game where Kramer, being military or ex-military, she's not afraid to die. And so she will not give up the location of course, these bullets that he wants to use to make money. Now, at the same time, we learned that Goldface is in a relationship with Emunet, and he's like talking about how they go to therapy together, and it's the same therapist that Barry went to with Iris, I believe 2 seasons ago. They may still see her, I don't know. And I thought that was really funny. and that, this is how they make their relationship work. It was actually really funny, like a little segue, like a segue to him while he's like holding everybody hostage and threatening to murder people if he didn't get what he want. He's giving them relationship advice about how to keep your marriage or your relationship strong and blah blah blah. And it's just like, okay. But so the biggest part of this story is two things happen. One is we all know that Kramer's power as a metahuman in the Arrowverse is that she's a mimic basically. She just has no control over it, and she's been having the hardest time because every time that she's around a metahuman, her powers activate and she doesn't even realize it. Like she, could take anybody's ability, and she's terrified that she's going to hurt someone. And the reason that she's upset about the Flash is not because he keeps dumping criminals, in her police house, is because she has nobody else to talk to help her figure out her powers, which tracks. And I'm kind of like, why the hell didn't they think to do that from the beginning? I mean, you have a metahuman who has no idea how to control the ability to take any power around her. I mean, it makes perfect sense that you would want to train this individual above everybody else because she's dangerous. But that was never a conversation that anybody had, and I don't know why. So, I get it. I'd be in my feelings too. So basically, it was her trying to reach out to the Flash and her believing in herself enough to take on Goldface to be able to take his power for a while, giving Barry a chance to try and get the little bracelets off of them. Which he does a lot of little things to kind of help her along the way. Like he's making this device that's supposed to be able to tell where the bullets are, and he ends up rigging it so it blows up, giving them time to get away. But was really interesting to me, and I didn't think that he was going to get away with it, because of course he wasn't going to get away with it because it's Arrowverse. He told Kramer, I'll buy you some time and I'll get this bracelet off and I'll go get help. And I'm like, why would you listen to the forensic scientist about it? You know what I mean? With no actual field training. But I'm like, whatever. So he's pep talking her, and, she's like, okay, finally I'm going to do it. Let's get them out of our house. So she goes up there to stand up against Goldface, and it's working for a while, but she couldn't hold the power forever. Well, right before, he was about to take her out, of course, the Flash shows up because Barry's in the basement being the Flash and outrunning. He takes the bracelets off and he's outrunning the explosion because, again, Speed Force. Well, he did not take the evidence that he did that. He went and saved her. They ended up getting Goldface in the end. Everybody's safe. But he doesn't take the bracelet or the evidence. So she put two and two together because she's intelligent, and she figures out that Barry is the Flash. So when the Flash comes to her and says, hey, I'm going to give you this special button, this is going to get you to me. It's like my pager. And she's like, okay, Barry. Basically, I know you're Barry. I know you're Flash. I'm like, and then he agrees to train her, and it kind of ends. The episode was just it wasn't a bad episode. It was just like blah. I mean, it wasn't really anything. If anything, to me, it was more a focus on Kramer and Barry establishing a connection, and her basically realizing he's the Flash, and basically Caitlin getting over her fear of dating, because she was very judgmental and very harsh. And I love that Frost, who's always protected her sister, was kind of like, no, you're being a bitch. Like, so you're on your own, Pepper. So I kind of like that. So we'll see where it's going to go with her and her doctor friend, who Chester P's already making plans. He's going to join Team Flash. Chester P, so if you know Chunk in the comics, he's completely different. But I feel like they're trying too hard with Chester. Chester is either overly excited or anal retentive and whiny. There's no medium. And I don't know why they do this, especially the POC characters, but he gets on my nerves sometimes. He really does. And he gets on my nerves in the next episode. So we're going to jump right into season 8, episode 8, where we have the hotness. We have a question mark metahuman that is using fire ability. And we have Barry still dealing with the death of his dad, which is something, if you follow me on Facebook, I actually recently did a post about this. The anniversary of my mother's death was on the 18th of this month. And I realized how I have not gotten, I don't want to say gotten over it, but still very well grieving. I'm just very much grieving. So me and Barry are on the same, kind of wavelength with this. I understand not being able to let it go. or at least to the point where you're able to get better, if that makes sense. And Harry, Barry never went to therapy about this. Not really. So I feel like this was a very powerful episode in terms of dealing with grief and what it does, like the effects of it, how it drives you to do a little bit more than you normally would, especially when it's a situation that literally is so close to yours. So first off, the episode starts with basically somebody in a bar talking to somebody. I thought it was Donna, which is another employee who actually gets burned later, saying that I'm not going to pay you another dime or whatever. But he may have been saying somebody else's name. I don't know. But long story short, this person ends up melting this guy down. So this is our first murder of the episode. And then we see Barry getting ready for work. He doesn't seem like himself, his peppy, goofy, geeky little self. He seems kind of down and solemn, and he's putting his, files or whatever in his bag. And, of course, Iris is like bouncing around because he made her this special coffee. And she's like, hey, why don't we make, dinner reservations tonight? Like it's a normal day. And she just happens to look at the calendar. And then I think for them, it's February 1st. I will say I took a look at the calendar, by the way. I was very curious to see what their married life was like. So I know that their property taxes are due on the 23rd, I think. And Barry does go to the dentist. Iris gets acupuncture. Like she goes to lunch with her dad. That's just some of the stuff I remember seeing on there. I'm like, and they have a block party scheduled, like a movie in the park. I mean, they got a full schedule for all this stuff that they're doing on the calendar. So I'm like, okay. I can get down with that. I got my planner. I understand how that works. But she forgot that it was the anniversary. Well, technically not anniversary. It was the birthday of Henry, of course, Barry's dad. So he is basically in his feelings all day, which again, I can relate to. I'm the same way when it's my mother's birthday or the anniversary of her death. I'm just the same way. So, so he's not feeling that great. She offered to stay with him. He's like, no, don't be stupid. You go do that. You got a lot of stuff to do at work, and, I need to be at work, and, it's just what it is. So I think we're introduced to Jacob Birch right after Chester P is helping Barry see if there's like dark meta energy and all that crap at the crime scene. And they determined that a metahuman killed the gentleman at the beginning. So Jacob Birch, he's basically an ex. He's the hotness. He's an ex, con who, I ain't saying it like that. He's been in, but he was in jail. I don't know if he was in Iron Heights, but he probably was, for 3 years. And since then, he got his life together. He's like a security guard for a band. He's basically trying to get custody of his son and be a father, because his spouse, or I don't even know if they were married, but the mother of his son is kind of flighty and in and out of the kid's life. So he's, trying to be a dad, basically. And he's trying to explain to his son why he wasn't able to get these tickets backstage like he wanted, his son wanted. And then we learned in the episode it was because the first guy that gets killed, he was selling guitars to him, and he was trying to give him half the money, or half what he promised he'd pay for it. And he got mad, and he's like, this isn't over. So of course he becomes a suspect because he was the last person seen by the bartender. I think it was the bartender, Donna, at the bar. So they arrest him, and the scene freaks, Barry out, because it's just like them taking his dad away for the mother, the murder of his mother that his father didn't do, because we all know it was Reverse Flash. So he immediately is like, all right, you know what? I'm going to prove this guy's innocence. Now, I just to put this up here, I'm going to put it out into the cosmos of the ATN universe jurors. Had this not been a situation where this reminded him so much of his dad and him, would he have gone the extra mile to help Birch? I'm just asking this question. And then on top of that, I will say Team Flash was kind of annoying the shit out of me in this episode, because the thing that bothers me about Team Flash is that they question each other more than they question the situation. It's almost like they have this level of disbelief over everything each other says. And it really gets on my nerves. Like, with Cisco had that clout because he was there since the pilot episode. He was there since they introduced Barry at the end of, was it season 3, I believe, or 4 of Arrow. So like he was, that character has established itself. So if Cisco was like, hey, Barry, maybe you're tripping, I would have been okay. But when Cisco does it, when Chester P does it, and Cecile even, it was actually getting on my damn nerves. And on top of that, Cecile was like completely, as a lawyer, being not objective. And what I mean by that is she was saying she was being objective, but she kept saying, the evidence is saying this. This is, I'm telling you, Barry, maybe you're just seeing things differently. Blah, blah. That is not what a lawyer does. A lawyer looks at all of the evidence and does not make an opinion, an actual opinion or judgment call until all of the evidence and every avenue has been investigated. But Cecile was just like, bum, bum, bum. Yep. Barry, he's running. He looks guilty. It was like she was trying to lock his ass up, faster than freaking Central City PD. I was like, that was crazy. And then Chester was like, Chester is one of those characters that's just reactive. I don't know if you guys noticed that. So he kind of follows the group of what everybody else is doing, unless you make him feel bad about himself. Then it becomes him and having individuality. I hate they write him like this. He had potential to be really, really cool. And unfortunately, he is a victim of character assassination by the Arrowverse. So he just reacted. And if you notice that when Barry goes to them and they're having this little intervention with him to try and convince him that maybe he's just using what happened with his dad, or not really, they're not, because they don't really know. But Cecile is kind of like, she figured out what was going on. And she's like, hey, are you sure you're okay? And everybody else was like, Barry, are you okay? I'm like, what is wrong with this team? This team is fucking nuts. So Team Flash, I'm telling you, is not the supportive environment that I wish that it was. It's just not. And I, as much as I think Caitlin is boring, I will give her props that Caitlin, Joe, and Cisco held that shit down in seasons 1 and 2. That was Team Flash. This is kind of like, we're all hanging out at the clubhouse. That's what it is. Don't make us upset or we're going to have to call you out. # canceled. That's literally what Team Flash is now. And Cecile is like, literally, I don't know if you've caught this. Cecile is the literal leader of Team Flash. Because when Barry asked, he's like, Chester P, can you at least get this evidence? I think something's weird. I think there may be another metahuman or something's odd with these readings. Whatever, can you investigate it? He looked at Cecile and Cecile nodded yes. And I'm like, so who really runs Team Flash? So when Iris was made the boss temporarily, when Barry was in the Speed Force back in whatever, season 3, season 4, it's after the Savitar crap. Everybody canceled Iris. Why isn't anybody canceling Cecile? I'm just putting it out there. All right, I had to just put that in there because it was really pissing me off. And so Barry, of course, went back to his, forensic lab back at the station, and he has this little mystery board out. And then Joe comes up and he's like, I haven't seen this in like 7 or 8 years when your dad was on it. And so they have that little moment. And I love that Joe, I love what he said. He said, if you feel in your gut that this guy is innocent, then fuck us. Fuck everybody. Just go do your shit. I'm like, yes, Joe. This is why you are one of my favorite effing characters. Because you, dude, you talk sense. So that's really all he needed. He just needed to talk to Joe. He did not need to talk to anybody else. He needed this. I don't know. I feel like that team, it's like they're downers. I go on and I feel dejected whenever they are all in one group. It irritates the shit out of me. All right, so let me take a pause on that storyline to just talk about another little BS storyline. So Iris assigned the story to Allegra. She's supposed to be mentoring this girl named Taylor. Now, no matter how you feel about Taylor can be entitled in her feelings, jealous, narcissistic, whatever. Allegra is her supervisor. She was told, I'm going to repeat myself, guys. She was told to go and interview this woman named Rose Levin. Now, if you know the comics, Rose Levin, married to Daniel, is the great grandmother or aunt, something like that, of Booster Gold. So she has DC connection. It is a real character. She's canon. Obviously this is way before that, before she gets married, but she had a blog in the comics and she wrote a lot about Booster Gold, and she wrote about somebody else. I think it was Supernova or something like that. Or it was either Supernova or The Cloud. I have to go back and look at it. It's been a minute, but I'll look it up. But anyway, so she is kind of like she was in the comics. She's a blogger, she's an influencer, she's got a lot of people that follow her. So she had this whole like, I'm gonna be, I want to be able to be empowering to women, and that was the angle that Taylor was going for, because that is what she was interested in. Allegra was like, I don't want to do that. Like, and Iris is like, but you are a supervisor and you need to. And like, not even 2 minutes before she assigned that to her, because obviously Allegra and Taylor do not get along. Allegra had asked about another story, and basically Iris like, well, yeah, but I agreed with what Taylor said in the angle of this story, and yeah, you were her boss, but I'm your boss, and we went with what I wanted, basically, and we're not always gonna agree. And Allegra always takes that shit personally, which is very interesting. But so basically Iris told her to mentor Taylor on the story with Rose Levin. So they meet up at of course, Jitters, and because everybody has to go to Jitters, and she doesn't. She runs into an old I guess friend from Iron Heights, and the friend tells her she wasn't able to get a job because she worked and got her GED, but she can't because of her record. Nobody would give her a shot. She was working cleaning porta potties, and now she's working at Jitters, which is a step up for her. And Allegra immediately ditched Taylor and Rose, and basically wrote a story about this woman. To try and get the word out, which is it is a story that should be out there, because there are a lot of people that are arrested that aren't just hardened criminals that don't get a second shot because of their record. But I'm going to say something about something similar to that when we get to Superman and Lois. But anyway, so I just found that whole thing idiotic, because like, I blame Iris for giving Allegra responsibility. I'm just putting it out there. That girl is not supervisor material. She is, I want to write my own shit, have my own stories out there, have my own ideas. She wants to be Iris, not really the boss. She wants to be a reporter that everybody respects. She doesn't want to run anything. She doesn't want to rule anybody. She doesn't want to supervise anybody. She doesn't want to mentor anybody. Iris should know that there are people in this world that do not need to be mentors, and Allegra seems to be one of these people. So you can't force somebody into leadership is basically what I'm saying. But how Allegra was talking to Rose was like having this conversation, and she was like talking about how school felt like prison, and Allegra was like, no, it's not. I'm like, she was being so catty with somebody that's you're supposed to be interviewing, which is a no-no. It is unprofessional as shit. And then she ditched the story, did her own story, and of course they're gonna run with it. And the story that Taylor was gonna do was supposed to be the very first story for this segment they were doing, and then it ended up getting replaced with Allegra's story. And when Iris told Allegra to go deal with Taylor, you're the supervisor, go fix the problem, Taylor wasn't having that shit. She said, you stole my byline. She's like, no, I will destroy you. I was like, they're probably going to end up being the best of friends because it's the Arrowverse. But right now, I get so many. You remember Smallville back when Cat Grant showed up at the Daily Planet, and it was like Lois and Cat were like at each other's throats type scenario? Actually, it's kind of how it was in Lois and Clark too. They remind me a lot of Lois and Cat Grant back in the day. So yeah, that's funny to me. Okay, so let me move forward. So the other parts of the story are, because there wasn't a lot of side stuff going on. Like, yes, we had Team Flash being stupid. We learned a little bit about Frost, the fact that she's going to Mardi Gras next year with Mark. It's just what it is. But we get back, and so Barry is still weighing his feelings, trying to prove, that Joker didn't do it. He's like, he didn't do it. He wasn't there. All the evidence is not showing that he's there, and of course they're all like, no, but he didn't leave anybody alive to have evidence. But they're trying to figure out how to pin this on this guy, when all that Jocko wants to do is be there for his son. Birch wants to be a daddy. And so, Barry just full-fledged like goes for it. Now, Birch does break out. He does confront the Donna chick in the alleyway. It did look like he fried her, but he actually didn't fry her, because when Chester P finally got off his ass and ran a scan, they realized it was actually cold fusion that was killing the people. So a meta using cold fusion and not using, what Birch's ability is, which is absorbing and basically allowing heat to escape. he's a pyrokinetic. So I thought that was a really interesting reveal, how quickly everybody turned. Yeah, he is innocent. No, I'm sorry not for believing you, Barry. No, you were right and we were wrong. Long story short, though, Birch he is stupid. He does go to try and get his son back. He does, light up like he's going to attack the SUV, because social services has SUVs in Central City. They roll like that. I'm just letting you know. But the Flash shows up and then tells him, hey, we got evidence. We're going to prove that you didn't do shit. Bam. Now, technically, though, he broke out of jail, which is illegal, and he did try to almost attack an officer and, a social services person while his son was there. I don't know if he was actually going to go through with it because his son was there, but again, he can't control his emotions, and his powers are emotion-based. So, problematic as shit. But, because he was so upset, he created molten lava, of course, underneath the city. And so he was trying to figure out, he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't want my son to die. It's Flash. You got to save my son, blah, blah, blah. And the Flash is like, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to do something to cool off the lava, which he actually goes into water reserve, and then, water, lava, you get with speed, probably to this little wind shit. Stop the lava. But then all of this heat, like the steam was going to come up, the heat was going to come up from the sewer, the pathway. And it was Birch's job to absorb all of this heat. And I thought it was going to be like this massive amount. It was so tiny. I was like, that was anticlimactic as hell. But you know what? His son didn't believe in him. And after he sucked in all of that stuff, like he was reverse vaping, he got his son back. So that's all that matters. And he hugged his son, and Barry had a flash of hugging his daddy. And that's what we needed. We needed a way for Barry to connect to his situation so he could relive his best day of his daddy on his daddy's birthday. And of course, all of this happened on his daddy's birthday. It was an irony thing. Yes. But he's free. Now, back to Cecile. So Birch is in the office, and of course, social services is bringing the son back. I don't know why they just didn't go with him, because the son was already there, but whatever. And before he got there, he's thanking Barry. He's like, you're the one, he's like, well, the Flash did it. He's like, no, but you're the one that convinced the Flash. Thank you, man. And then he thanks Cecile, and Cecile's like, yeah. And, we could have done it without, the Flash's help. And, he's like, well, thank you for believing in me. I'm like, Cecile didn't believe in you. Cecile was about to throw your ass in jail. You people got problems. I'm giving people credit where credit is not due. Barry was the only one that believed in you. And Joe said, hey, soldier, go out there and do it. And that was literally it. What the? What? This is why the show gets on my nerves, guys. I told you. I can't help it. It does. It doesn't get on my nerves like Batwoman did, but this it gets on my nerves. At the end, we get to have a conversation with Barry, and Joe and Iris are telling Cecile all these stories about Henry, his birthday party, how he filled in on Joe's softball team and broke his nose and had to reset it. All these stories, and Barry got to talk about what he remembered, most about his dad, which is sweet. That was a very sweet moment. And then of course them trying to figure out the question mark: who is the meta that basically killed these two people? Because there's no arrest. They don't know who it is. So we don't get that resolution at the end. So, it is what it is. Not bad episodes, but it just keeps pointing out the fact that Team Flash gets on my fucking nerves. They just do. They did. I don't know why. I don't know why Cecile has so much clout on this team. I don't. But they listen to her over everybody else. And I'm like, wow. And since when is Cecile a psychologist? Last time I checked, she actually had to be committed for having, a mental breakdown. So, guys, I do see you posting. I can't see all your questions, but we'll answer them in a second at the end. I'm just going to go down the list like I normally do. So, all right. So that was The Flash in a nutshell, because we have nutshells here. So we're going to talk about Naomi, and then we'll go back up to Superman and Lois, because Naomi. This episode, guys, There are elements of Naomi that work for me. And then there are a lot of elements of Naomi that do not work for me. I think it's because they're trying to do a comic book series and an after school special all in one. And it doesn't work all the time. So, what I mean by that is we are definitely into our, how do I say, I've been calling them a Scooby-Doo gang. I'm going to call them the Naomi Buffy gang because Anthony gives me straight up Xander vibes. I don't know what it is, but he really does. But let me get rid of this for a second, guys, because I do not like people that come in here and spam. Anyway, so in this episode, we are split between 3 stories. We have Zimbardo and Dee. We have, of course, Annabelle and Naomi. And then we have Nathan and Anthony. Now, we have a tiny bit of Jacob thrown in, but he's more in the Naomi and Annabelle storyline. So we'll get to that in a second. So this is right after what happened. We went down with Star Labs. Of course, Dee is still training Naomi how to fight. They have not really gotten further into her powers yet because, and Dee points out later in this episode, he doesn't want to do it because she has so much power. If he trains her and she gets upset, she could hurt somebody and she would never live with herself and blah, 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 which is true. She's not ready. She's not ready. But unfortunately, with this Brutus guy coming, time is not on their side. So they have to do it. So the whole thing with Dee and Zimbardo is just flipping weird for me because as somebody who has read Naomi's comic, Zimbardo is he's the main bad guy. He's the dark side. He is the Lex Luthor. He is, every villain and every major antagonist that you have. He's Joker. He's Bane. He's Riddler. He's everything. So for him to be in the Arrowverse villain redemption program is really weird to me. I can't help it. But that's just how I feel. So Zimbardo basically saying, we need to push Naomi, and Dee saying, I don't want to push Naomi. And them basically, they're trying to see whose dick is bigger. That's basically what happened in this episode between these two. They even have a little fight where Dee beats his ass because they agreed not to use powers. And then, of course, Zimbardo, he can't beat him in a fight hand to hand, so he uses his powers and hits him with stuff. And Dee's like, you went against the rules of engagement. And Zimbardo's like, I'm trying to show you that the people that are coming for her are not honor bound. They're not going to follow rules. You're training her like they are. And so by the end of that, they came to the decision that both of them are going to train her, but they're going to be accountable for each other. Now, again, I'm still in my mind suspicious. I keep thinking Zimbardo because Akira kind of points out he wants something from her. He probably does. He probably wants to do like what Reverse Splash did with Barry, build up those powers so he can use it to get what he actually wants. She's not strong enough to do something for him yet. That's what I think is happening. But Z is absolutely evil in the comic. So he has to be absolutely evil in this. I will not accept a good Zimbardo. I'm sorry, I won't. Can't do it. I don't care. I know the actor is charismatic. He's adorable. I don't care. That is not who he's supposed to be. I digress. That is not who he's supposed to be. So I'm in my feelings about that. So another tiny little storyline is Nate and Anthony, who started off not liking each other and rivals for Naomi's affections, are now dating more than Nate and Naomi are. They are together more. Nate and Anthony should just be, together because they're now on the same wavelength, and now they have a hobby of helping girls who have problems. With Esme, they bought all her little pies, even after this, she sabotaged Anthony's float because she realized that her daddy, she doesn't get to spend time with her daddy and she's having abandonment issues. In this episode, we are introduced to Lourdes. They have to do like some community service with her. And basically they have to work in her store for 40 hours. And her store is not doing very well. And they basically concoct this scatterbrained idea, which is actually kind of cool, to have a Lord of the Rings trivia at her comic book shop, basically having people come in dressed as cosplay to get more money for the comic book shop. Now, she's already like, she doesn't have the type of relationship that the others do. And that's because she doesn't understand how to make friends. She had to leave school to help her family. So there's a lot about Loris I really am curious about, because she seemed to have a really hard life. And so them just saying that we're friends is interesting, because they've only really hung out like a couple of times, and they didn't really hang out. They were just following Naomi around. So I wasn't sure when this friendship was established, because the last time they saw her, I believe, is when they went on the campus tour, and their exact words were, "What were you doing here? You don't even go to high school," or something like that. So like, but now all of a sudden they're friends. So it's like after school special. So when they first get there, they thought, "Oh, it's gonna be a cakewalk working in your comic shop. We're friends. Surely you would just sign these forms and we can take our asses home." And she's like, "Oh no, you're gonna work." And by the way, we're not friends. So that whole situation was crazy. But I do think it's interesting that Anthony and Nate are just on this mission to help girls out and to hang out with each other and be on the same wavelength now. Crazy talk. But long story short, they raised money, left it in an envelope saying, "Hey, this is the prize winning money, for the trivia. We thought you should have it." And so she goes to the anniversary party, because it's Naomi's parents' anniversary, and I'll talk about that in a minute too. And she basically walks up to him and then says, "Hey, I'm not used to having friends, but and of course Anthony's like, "We're friends now," and she smiles, and they're like, "Well, we have more ideas for the comic book shop to keep it together," because she was going to sell her very old, very like pristine, mint condition, expensive comics to keep her store afloat. Which, as somebody who has a few of those, I don't want to. I have lots of memorabilia and lots of stuff that's probably worth a lot of money. I know they're worth a lot of money, so I wouldn't want to have to sell that either. So I knew what they were trying to do, but it's just like the way they came to this friendship is just very not authentic to me, because there's nothing that has shown us in this series that is very slow paced that this member is also part of the team Naomi Buffy group. So just putting it out there, but we'll see. We will see. Okay, so let's talk about Jacob, Naomi, and Annabelle. So Jacob and Annabelle are dating. I think they are absolutely adorable. I love how they call each other hun. I always love how Annabelle calls Naomi babe. And I absolutely love Annabelle and Naomi's relationship, because they remind me so much of Spooner and Astra from Legends of Tomorrow. They just do. And so Naomi is in her feelings. She's trying to protect her best friend because she realized her parents, she got the information her parents died to protect her. When her and Jacob go to Star Labs, he's going to check it out because he like subscribes to like, I guess this, board or magazine or whatever that told him about what happened at Star Labs. And so he wants to go investigate and see if he can find any alien stuff. And of course, she's basically going there to do the same damn thing and see if she can find Dr. Bell's evidence or like anything that they left behind, which they do end up finding a hard drive. Well, unfortunately, he finds part of the machine that, the doctor was using on Naomi and Zimbardo in the previous episodes. And it's like he was bending down and something happens and it's making noise. And then like a big like boulder was going to fall down on him. And Naomi just holds it up. And this thing weighs a lot. And that's when he puts two and two together. He's like, "You're an alien." Like, of course. So now Jacob knows that she's an alien. And so most of this episode, he's helping her build this device to track other aliens, which I'm excited about for one reason. I'll get to that in a second. But the other part of it is she didn't want him to tell Annabelle because she's trying to kick Annabelle out of this, of the journey that she's undertaking because people are coming for her. She tells him that her parents are thinking about, moving with her because it's not safe. She wants to protect Annabelle, and Annabelle is upset that she's keeping her out of it. She lied to her about, her and Jacob knowing, and about where she was doing. It basically became this thing where, you can't, basically make decisions for me. Yes, you are the superhero. Yes, you are the person that is running the show. You're it. But I need to be able to be the one that makes the decision to leave you, to stop helping you. You don't get to make that choice because it's my life, not yours. And basically what she's saying. So I get that. And I really I really like how they built these two characters up, because instead of them having a smackdown, I hate you, you're my friend, fight, it was more like she said that, and then Annabelle just walked away. And then Naomi didn't know where they stood until she showed up at the anniversary party. And it was like, hey, I thought we were in a fight. She's like, yeah, we were. It was very dramatic. I was just like, but that was like hours ago. Where you at? I thought that was funny as hell. But they basically established that Naomi can't do anything with Annabelle without Annabelle, which I'm happy for, because I love the banter between Dee and Annabelle in the last episode. So I got to keep Annabelle around. So they've managed to, kind of fix their stuff very quickly. And at the same time, at this anniversary party, which again, the parents didn't want to throw, because I'm just going to say this, okay? I'm going to sidetrack for a second. The parents did not want to throw an anniversary, party, because they felt like it was too dangerous. Things are happening. They want to get their daughter and keep her safe, right? So why is it that when Annabelle and Naomi came home and just to hang out and do stuff, and Annabelle says, "Where's your parents?" "Oh, they're out bowling, having dinner, and reacting their second date or whatever." "Oh, and tomorrow is their overnight stay somewhere." And I'm like, so you're so concerned about your daughter that you were going to cancel your damn party, but you go out on the date and have an overnight out? I'm like, what? Where is the logic, people? I'm like, there's no logic in the show. Okay, so I just had to throw that in there. So let me come back now. So at the anniversary party, another thing that happened is Jacob managed to fix the machine. So he calibrated it so it won't find alien energy or items. It will find alien people. So he needed a laptop. So of course she told him he can go upstairs and use hers. So I guess she doesn't have a password on her laptop. So she sure as hell didn't give him that. And he went up there and then he started using it. And then when her and Annabelle have their little makeup thing, he sends a text saying 911, and Naomi's like, from upstairs. And so they run upstairs, and he tells them, hey, I tracked the alien, and that alien is in your house. And I was like, yes, effing finally, they're going to reveal that her daddy is a whole ass alien, because he was an alien in the comics, and he was sent there to apprehend Dee, and I need them to keep that damn storyline. I got excited. Now, whether they do this or not, I don't know. In this episode, when they first tried out the little device that he made before he calibrated it, they found an alien object or alien objects. It led them to a storage room, which is basically a storage place that had all of her stuff as a child and had a bag full of money and a passport for her. And so she brought it back to the parents. And of course, they tell her, oh, we've been keeping a bag and something like that for a long time. And that's when she realized that they've been living in fear. But what I don't think that this is going to be the caveat for me. I don't know if Jennifer knows that Greg is an alien. That would be interesting, because it's like, how many secrets are these parents keeping? But I don't know if she knows that her husband is an alien. So that is going to be interesting if it gets revealed that the alien is daddy, because they're going to be doing a whole alien search at the anniversary party next episode. I think it's going to take most of the episode. And I am hoping they reveal it, because he is a whole ass alien. Like, so I really need them to show that McDuffie is he's an alien. And if this is true, it explains the antagonistic relationship between Dee and him at that little dinner they had when they invited Dee over to the house. It would explain why he was like that, because his mission was to apprehend him. So I'm excited. This makes me excited. This means we potentially are getting back on track to be closer to the comic. So if anything, as slow as this damn show is, it is making me excited for next week. So I'm still invested in it. So I guess that's a good thing. It hasn't driven me insane yet. And again, the pacing is really slow. We spend way too much time with the after school special people, but I feel like we may actually be getting somewhere 8 episodes in. So we will see what happens in episode 9. All right, so let's go to Superman and Lois. Guys, Superman and Lois. I feel like it's like they don't learn things on this show. They don't learn. So let's just jump right in here. So the first thing that happens is I'm going to talk about the parents of Jonathan. So Jonathan still hasn't given up Candace. He has no intention of giving up Candace. He's not going to give up Candace. And so that's why, as a parent, you need to do this thing called critical thinking skills. Who in Jonathan's life would he be protecting like this on this level? Who does he spend all of his time with that he would not want to get into trouble, that he would not give her name up? Never. They spend time solving these intergalactic multiverse, cases. But their own kid, they can't be like, well, he really doesn't have a lot of friends. There's a few friends on the football team. Oh, and then there's his girlfriend. Wait a minute. Maybe it's his girlfriend, and that's why he won't tell us. Nobody! Why? Like, why? Oh, God. I don't know, guys. I don't know. But I love when they still continue to question him, and they literally did a rock, paper, scissors effing moment, which apparently Clark loses all the time against Lois on who was going to go talk to him. So I'm like, okay. I think that's really interesting. That's how they solve their parental responsibilities. Who's going to feed the kids? Damn it. like, okay. I mean, whatever works in your house, I guess. But I thought that was hysterical. But yeah, Clark was very harsh to Jonathan. He's very pissed at him to the point where Lois actually had to say something to him in this episode. She was like, you can't let this go on like this because you're going to cause a rift and you're not going to fix it. Because he was treating Jonathan like he was not even his son. And that is a thing. But again, Jonathan didn't fold. And Jonathan's whole storyline was interesting because I told you I was going to mention the whole thing about being a criminal or a suspected criminal and how people don't give you a job or a chance. Well, obviously that does not apply in Smallville. I don't know if this is an ethnicity race thing or whatever. Yes, he did not go to jail, probably because, again, the kryptonite, X crap is not considered. It's a space drug. It's not classified as an Earth drug. It's still a drug. It's like a steroid, a very powerful steroid, but it's not considered or not labeled something that he could federally be arrested for. But everybody knew he did it. And because it's a small ass town and he still got to work in a convenience store. Like they arranged for him to do his classes online and go work at a convenience store with money and responsibility. Where if you are a druggie, you have money right in the cash register door. What person would hire you for that? It's a complete 180 from the girl over in The Flash. It's like, wow. So because it's Jonathan, he can go work at this convenience store, and it's completely accepted. So that to me was very weird. I just thought that was very strange. And then I'm just going to finish out Jonathan's story. Then we'll talk about the other stuff that happened. So Jonathan, after he got off work, he was walking Candace back home, and she didn't, there's this guy that's been harassing her, and Jordan saw it and used his super hearing to listen to the fact that she owed this guy a lot of money. And so, Jordan put two and two together that it's Candace. And of course, Jonathan didn't want him to say anything and blah, 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 because, they're the fraternals. That's what they are, apparently. And so Jonathan was walking her home, and this guy was coming to take her, and, Jonathan was trying to fight him and he was getting roughed up. And, I guess Jordan heard it and then rushed there and then knocked the guy off his ass. And then Jonathan got up and threatened him. And of course, the guy ran away. And Candace had gone away. And so basically the brothers are back together because Jonathan saved him. Jordan saved Jonathan. And then of course they have a little talk and they had the little thing, you should have told me, and Jonathan was like, I didn't want to put that on you. And he's like, we're the fraternals, man. And so I was like, just talk to your boy. But because Jordan helped him, he was not able to do something I thought was very effing stupid, which proves to me that they don't know how to write LGBTQ plus, and they don't know how to write children and teenage relationships. So let me talk about this, because I've always told you guys that in the Arrowverse and CW, cheating is accepted on many levels. I don't know what the hell this is. Lana freaking out about Kyle should be a non-concept, because they just don't care about cheating in this. So Sarah, who is potentially to be one of the most annoying love interests I've ever seen in life, and she's only 15. That's really sad. She already, I was in my feelings because she kissed this girl at camp. I guess they were messing around at camp. She told Jordan about it. He didn't have a chance to be upset about it. He ended up having to apologize to her, accept it, and give her a prize. He gave her a ring or a present. She called the girl last week to be her moral support. The girl she cheated on her boyfriend with. And she had the lady balls to tell Jordan, hey, so I want you to meet my friend that I made out with, that, you know, the one I cheated on you with, because she's actually down here as my moral support. As a matter of fact, I went and had like coffee and stuff with her the other day, and I just thought it'd be cool if all three of us were friends. I wish this water was alcohol, guys. What the hell? Like, what the hell? What kind of stupid ass story? So Jordan half-ass agreed to go because he was too busy eavesdropping on what was happening with Candace and that guy at school when she asked him. So he was like, sure, let's do it, whatever. He half-ass did it. He went there and he was looking in, he was a little bit late. So he didn't want to go in the first place. And then he chose to save his brother and his brother's girlfriend, technically. And then he went, home because he had all the blood on his knuckles and stuff. He went back and he had blood on his knuckles and things, and then he went home. So what's going to end up happening is Sarah's going to be mad and in her feelings, and he's going to have to kiss her ass so she can feel better about herself. And their relationship isn't doomed. And quite frankly, I don't want her with him anymore. I want Jordan to find somebody else, because I will give Candace this. Yes, Candace sold drugs. She never asked Jonathan to cover for her. He talked her into it. She felt really bad, never told him about the guy that's after her and is harassing her and all this crap. Candace is just really like bad, down on her luck. They have no money. She's doing all of this stuff out of desperation. And yes, it's wrong, but she's still doing it to help her dad. Sarah's just being a straight little bitch. I'm sorry, straight entitled little bitch. And I don't understand why they're writing her that way. So, you know what? I don't care about Sarah. I don't care about Sarah at all. I'm just putting it out there, guys. I don't care. I hope she goes the way of Clark and Lana's relationship away. And he meets his own Lois Lane and moves the F on, because that shit is stupid. I'm sorry. It is stupid. So just putting it out there. And then like the biggest chunk of this story has to do with Allie, Lucy, and of course, what's going on with Anderson. Anderson has both pendants. And early in the episode, Christy calls and says, hey, I just got invited to like the big reveal of crossing over to the other multiverse or dimension or wherever the hell we're going. And like Lois is like, well, be careful. So they pull up in a van in hazmat suits, and she goes in and she has to put the suit on. And then they go to this portal. And the first few people that are going through the portal disintegrate. Luckily, Superman he figured out they're in the cave. The same one Bizarro came out of. And he flies down there and he's able to save Chrissy and this other guy, Rob. I don't know. He wasn't important to me. But everybody else is gone. So everybody's assuming that Lucy is gone too. And Lois, who obviously also needs to go back to therapy because she has the same abandonment issues I have with my dad. She only worse. She's like, why does everyone leave me? Like, she's running around Lucy's apartment, like trying to find a letter or something saying that she was gone or whatever. Her dad, Sam, thinks that he's dead and he's blaming himself. He goes to Allie because they take her into custody because she's also safe. And she didn't make it in there. Anderson took the pendants and went through the portal, leaving her behind, which is funny because When they sent Anderson back, like they drugged him like Chrissy, he said, "Oh, your other self told me to tell you it's time." But he had every intention of doing that. He had every intention of taking those pendants and going to that portal. What's going to happen when he comes back? Who knows? But Allie did not get to go. And so she gets arrested and she's taken in by DOD and they're like talking to her and she's not telling them shit. She's smug and all that. And so they don't know if Lucy is dead or alive. So most of this episode, we think Lucy's dead. She shows up at the end of the episode and she's like, you were right. I changed my mind. They took our phones, or they did take their phones. So I couldn't call you and I had to walk and blah, blah, blah. We should have brunch tomorrow. And Sam's like, I'm going to take you home. I knew not to trust that bitch. I'm like, it was too easy. But poor Lois, because when Lois was in her apartment, she was rummaging for all the stuff. Clark, there was somebody in Lucy's apartment. He went and checked it out, and it was Lois. And he was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I'm trying to find something." And he's like, "Well, why does she go? Why would she just leave like that? Why does everyone keep leaving me?" And Superman's like, "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Abandonment issues. So having her sister back and her dad, and having them talking about having brunch, she was all giddy. And it was so sad because her sister Lucy is she should be Sarah's mother. She drugged her dad to get his access badge to go free Allie because she was a contingency plan in case she got arrested. That girl, I don't know. Like I said, whether you believe in corporal punishment or not, he should have got that switch. He should have tanned that ass. I'm like, I'm sorry. Lucy is a lost cause for me, and I know that she's going to be saved because it is, of course, the Arrowverse, and they have, again, the villain redemption program. I mean, even Allie could be saved at this point. Poor Bizarro wasn't, but I'm just saying, it's stupid. It's just really stupid. So I feel like trusting Lucy just like that was dumb, and Sam should have been smarter. Especially, you've been at this a long time. I know he was so happy to have his daughter back. So I guess an argument can be made that he was just blinded by fatherly love and his daughter not being dead. But damn, come on. And I think he's going to see her in a new light. Because, I kind of feel like she was the one he always gaslit. And I don't think he's going to gaslight her after this. There's no way. There's no way he can do that. So I'm excited to see what happens in the next episode because that to me was messed up. Like that whole situation was messed up. So like I said, I still am really into Superman and Lois because it is one of the shows that is not a slow burn. And everybody gets to have their time. So like Nat dealing with, her dad, when John, he wakes up, he looks over at Lois and thinks that that's his wife. He's like, I can't wait to spend time with my girls. And that's like, that's not mom. And he's, because of his brain injury, he has a little bit of confusion. But Nat is like in her feelings. She's like, every time I look at Superman, I see the man who killed my mother. And I get that. And I'm glad that they're saying something about that, because if they lived in that house harmoniously the entire time, I would not have been able to believe that. So I love that she was struggling that whole time. And I love that Clark went to her, to the dad and said, she hates me. What do I do? And he's like, get to know her. And so Clark's like, my friends have this rundown. He didn't say it was rundown. He should have said it's rundown. My friends have a place they're kind of run out. It's a rundown little farm. But, you can have it. So they're going to have their own little place and they're going to fix it up. And she's excited. She has a space. And I loved all the flashbacks we got to see. We got to see her and, trying to get to her dad and basically being 6 months behind, not knowing if they have enough life support to get her there and stuff. I love that. I love Nat and Steele's relationship. And I love that it does seem realistic. That is her reaction to Superman, where most people will see him as a symbol of hope. She sees him as the face of the man that took out her mom. I mean, that's completely realistic to me. So yeah, like I really love that situation. So I'm glad that they're going to have their own farm, place, whatever. She's going to be able to have her own life, establish her own life without leaving the show. Because I was so scared that they were going to have to leave the show. But now I think that they are going to be permanent people, or they better be permanent in Smallville. Because quite frankly, that besides them, there are only like 2 other black people. I can't handle this. I can't handle it. So there's that. And then the last story is basically Lana and Kyle. Lana trying to prep for basically the mayor debate where they ask questions and she knows they're going to come for her about her marriage. And, I love that she called Kyle to help her and it she got to basically go off on him a little bit because he kept firing questions. She's like, I don't want to answer questions about our relationship. I don't need to answer this. I don't need to answer about family values because I didn't fuck up. You did. And I'm like, yeah. And you know what? The apple don't fall too far from the tree because your daughter does the same shit your daddy do. I'm like, you might want to put her aside and give her an intervention. But I love how Kyle tried to slip in there and be like, will you ever forgive your husband? And I'm like, really, dude? Too soon. I'm like, so I feel like I know what's going to happen with Kyle. And then Kyle and his family, minus Lana, because I don't think Lana are the Latina Hispanic representation of the show. It's kind of effed up that he's the alcoholic and the cheater. It really is. I would have liked it if it had been like the mayor or something, but I just feel like that little storyline there, and for Lana to be like, hey, I'm trying to do me right now, dude. I'm not trying to do you. And him getting his own place and not staying at the firehouse. It is like closure in a way, but I have this stupid sinking feeling because the Arrowverse is pro cheating at times that they're going to push these characters back together. I'm going to be so in my feelings if that happens. I really will. So I don't know. I don't know. I just feel like everybody's dealing with their own shit, but I will say pace-wise, Superman and Lois, the pace is really cool because we get that pace. We don't do that with Naomi. If Naomi had the same pace as Superman and Lois and they air on the same damn night, man, that would be complete. Like, seriously, my score would raise on this show. Not saying I don't like Naomi. I'm just saying it is slow and we focus too much on the wrong shit. And her parents need to really show their parental concern more. They'll be like, hey, that'd be like me telling my daughter, hey, I'm really worried about, somebody breaking in the house and killing you. I'm going to drive in now. I'll be back later. like, what? what? The hell? So yeah, that is that in a nutshell. We don't know where Anderson is. He's on the other side doing whatever he's doing. Lucy's going to get Allie out to do God knows what. Lois and Clark are very behind mentally because they don't catch on to anything. Not their son covering for his girlfriend, not Lucy being still under the control of Allie. Because Lucy was brainwashed. You just don't turn brainwashing off in one day. I'm sorry. I don't give a shit what you saw at the portal. Like, all of this stuff they're not seeing is very interesting to me. So put that out there. But Clark got to demonstrate using more of his power, so that was cool. So not a bad episode, but just the stuff I told you about that I had questions about. So okay, we're still rocking this music, by the way. I don't know. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep music on my streams because it's free. It comes when I pay for this StreamYard. So if you guys like it, let me know. This is my first time using and picking a background music for a stream. I just don't know if I'm going to keep it or not. So Christian Marcate, if I said that right. Tyler confirmed that season 3 is official. Yes, season 3 is official, and The Flash season 9 is official. But I think these are the only 2 Arrowverse shows we know about right now, which is not saying a lot for the other ones, but we'll see. I think that Naomi will definitely get a season 2. I do. I don't know, nor do I give 5 shits if Batwoman gets renewed. What they could do is actually cancel that and put another Gotham, like Gotham Knights or something, in its place. That is highly possible. Where they ended that show could have been a series finale. So just put it out there. Sarah thinking that her and Jordan and her friend, she cheated on Jordan with meeting up to be less awkward. No, that's going to make it even more awkward. That's because Sarah's a flaming idiot. I enjoyed this week's Arrowverse. I did for the most part. Yes, super excited for Charmed and Yashahime and Owl House. I am too. Saturday gonna be the day, and Friday night's gonna be the night. Reviews with the jurors. I am happy you guys are here. Caitlin was pretty harsh though, and she hasn't been in a serious relationship since Ronnie died. Technically, she was with the guy pretending to be Jay Garrick, his name just went out of my head. Why did his name just go out of my head? His character name, and it's a canon character, went out of my head. Put in the comments below who it was. You know I'm talking about. It was not the real Jay Garrett, but you know what I'm talking about. She did have a thing with Jay. She liked Jay a lot, and he turned out to be evil. Barry had the same face reaction that Kara had when their bosses told them, I know you're the Flash. I know you're Supergirl. Their faces impressions were funny. They trained on Glee for that. That's why. Hello, Dee Marie. How are you? Yeah, it was a real sad episode. Yeah, that, like I said, that Flash episode right here, guys, because my mother died in 2008 and it was on March 18th. And I couldn't even post on my Facebook on March 18th. I posted yesterday. So I was like, I can't do my little homage to my mother because you're in your feelings. It's just what it is. People, if you have not lost a parent or anybody, I've lost a parent and a previous spouse, both to cancer. So like, if you have not been in a situation, especially like my mother was my best friend. We were BFFs. If you have not been in a situation like that, it's hard to explain like the level. And like for me, like Barry, you have to bury that stuff down because there's so much other things going on. When my mother died, it wasn't just like I had a chance to just sit back and grieve. I had my brother to take care of. I had my daughter to take care of. My dad was useless. So like I had to become my mother. I had no time. And then when stuff started mellowing out, my spouse got diagnosed with cancer and then ended up dying. So it was like, really? So like I never had a chance to grieve my mother. So like now it's coming out and that's what happens with grief. And it's why I always say whenever we have anything with grief, it's just hard because people grieve in different ways. Some people get angry, some people get sad, and then some people like me internalize it and then it slowly comes out. Like you're standing somewhere and you start crying randomly for no reason. And it's just what happens. Yeah, when they were rejecting Barry, Barry was pissed off and let them have it. And he should. It's called Team Flash, not Team Cecile. Yeah, Maria, how are you doing? I just took the SAT and guess what today is? What is today, Emmanuel? And congratulations on taking the SAT. Didn't they make Cecile official team leader of Team Flash after the disappearance of Joe's situation a season or two ago? I don't know. But even still, why? And why isn't she getting the same heat that Iris got? Was this episode even worth watching because I skipped it? Yeah, I mean, the Flash wasn't as bad. So episode 7 annoyed me a little bit, but episode 8 was a lot better. And I relate to it more, so not bad. Naomi was slow, but not technically bad. It made me excited for episode 9 because of what happened, especially at the end of episode 8. And I was in it for the whole friendship with Naomi and, of course, Abbott. Why am I calling her Abigail? Because Abigail, the Astra, and freaking Spooner are like in my brain right now. But Annabelle is what I was trying to say. So I'm in it for Naomi and Annabelle's relationship. I think their friendship is cool. D though, I will say, D's face, he's like, motherfucker. He had this look like he was perpetually pissed the entire episode. It was funny. I made it, so what did I miss? A lot, mercenary. Looks like you made it just in time. Well, okay, maybe not a lot. Kevin said you made it in time. I'm just gonna call Z because his name seems too long. Yeah, Zimbato. I call people Z, like you'll see on my Kung Fu reviews when I put the videos out tomorrow. I'm gonna do 2 and 3 together tomorrow. I'm going to do it as a video, but I call, Zilon, I call her Lady Z all the time because that's what she is. I really can't stand Chester. I like it even more so than Ryan. I feel like that's the ideal version of what they expect and it's digestible as a POC man. And that's the problem. Yeah. I don't know why they do this. And what makes me crazy is when POCs write other POCs badly. It's just so stupid. How you gonna break a stereotype when you're actually writing the stereotype? So I would love to look to see who's writing this, like who writes his dialogue, because Chester P is annoying as hell. He's annoying, like legit annoying. He's just annoying. He's an annoying person. He's always in his feelings, like, oh, well, you don't like me because of this. Oh, well, I guess you don't want to. You might do. Stop. Just shut up. Just be quiet. Just play with the computer and just shut up. Just like when he tells people where not to go at Star Labs, when he took over for Cisco, like when Barry and Iris were down in the archives getting it on. Barry owns Star Labs. Yes, it was left to him by Reverse Flash when he was Harrison Wells, but his name is on that, on the property docs, on everything that you can find registration wise for Star Labs. Barry Allen in this universe owns Star Labs. So how are you going to tell somebody who owns a building where he can get it, where he can and cannot get it on with his wife? Because I'd be like, you can or cannot get out of my building. I'm like, if I want to screw my wife on the damn console, you don't have a damn thing to say about it. You know why? Because it's my console, my name, my bills. Peace out. That's how I look at that. So that when that happened, I already knew we were going downhill, because you don't tell your boss who owns the building where they can and cannot do something in their own damn building. Arrowverse, what you playing at? I mean, it would be a nice plot twist if we found out he was playing Naomi and was evil this whole time. I mean, it should be, because that's what he was in the comics. Only he wasn't playing Naomi in the comics. He was straight up evil. So yeah, I will respect that. Kung Fu was great this week. Yes, it was. We will talk about that. We'll have a video about that tomorrow. These boys either have jobs or huge allowances. I know, right? I don't understand that at all. I will say Nate, his mother is a general or something, I thought. She's pretty high up in the military, so that checks. You don't really have to pay for a lot on base either. Like, you have PBX and all that. So, I mean, it's not like he really needs a lot of money if most of your military life is free. But I digress. But I don't know about Anthony. Anthony is a townie, I guess. It's fam generational in there in Puerto Rico, whatever. So I don't know. Puerto Rico. I can never remember the name of it. So we're just gonna say the base. Like, how Chester is written irks me. It's how they used to write queer people, as either villains, degenerates, mentally clowns, or asexual, such as Issue. At least Booster Gold and Firestorm are great. True. I'm really getting into Booster Gold, especially. I'm really excited. I'm just worried because they have not announced that they've, licensed another, or not, I'll say renewed, basically. It's licensed, but renewed another season for Legends. And so I'm worried that we just saw the last, season. I hope that's not true. That would really suck. Doesn't she look like Sabine from Star Wars? Yes, she does. I don't know if that's her real hair, though, if we're talking about Lourdes. I don't know if that's her real hair. These guys throw the word friend around way too easily. Yeah. Because, I can't. You ever just not really know how to dissect relationships? Like, Anthony and Nathan became buddies really quick. They went from drastically disliking each other to not wanting to tolerate each other to basically, they look like they're the ones dating. Like, seriously, Nathan spends more time with Anthony than he does with Naomi. Like, there's no point in this episode where he was like, I wonder what Naomi's doing. I should be texting her when she's all off on her adventures with Jacob and hanging out with Annabelle. I mean, they had a little mini date at the beginning, like a double date with Annabelle and Jacob, and they played mini golf, which is really funny because that's where I used to go on my double dates. Me and River with another couple we know. But I think it's funny to me that that was the extent of that, and then it was just Anthony and Nathan. And it's like it's been Anthony and Nathan for a minute. So I don't know why they're doing that. So, but none of these relationships revolved around Lourdes. I think I almost felt like they forgot Lourdes, like who Lourdes was. So I'm glad we're seeing her again. But yeah, it's a thing. It is a thing. Let's see. AB is a true and loyal friend. Yep, I like her as a character. I love Abigail. I mean, she's the only one I remember in the comic. I don't remember these other people. I don't even think they were there. But Abigail was actually her BFF. Naomi was interested, not Abigail, Annabelle. What is wrong with me? Naomi was interesting this week, but I'm wondering if it's too late to pick up the pace. The writers are somehow missing the point that Naomi is up-and-coming superhero and part of the multiverse. It's probably because they don't understand that she's part of the multiverse. I would really like to know the bios of the writers and the showrunner. Naomi was good, but the fight scene was underwhelming between Zimbato and the Hawkman. I was like, why was Zimbato fighting like that? And he's super powered. How you let that guy even get that far? Because they said no powers. D said no powers. I mean, don't negate Dee's powers and prowess because he's actually very, especially in the comics, he's a very all Hawkmen are very powerful. Let's put it that way. So, but yeah, and Z actually cheated too, so it's a thing. Seriously, this episode Naomi has me intrigued. The writers need to rest, reset, respect. Superboy rising with a little element of the see, there you go. With a little element of the Peter Parker look added in. I agree with that. I agree with that. I want to know why John doesn't feel comfortable telling his parents about Candace because I wouldn't feel comfortable telling them about shit either. Lois yells at him all the damn time and Clark's never home. I'm like, and defers him to the mother. I'm like, I would tell him shit. Nothing. Wait, Clark has proven that he can like hear everything and pick voices out of the globe. Why doesn't he eavesdrop on Jonathan during this time to find out the information? You are a parent. Yes. Because he can't, because they discussed that he's not allowed to do that. It's an invasion of privacy. Hello, Superman powers, use them. Superboy rising with a little bit of element of Peter Parker. I'm going back to this. I like this a lot because this is actually one of the truest statements. And I'm wondering, I'm still convinced from the pictures we saw where he looks like Superboy Prime that Jonathan is going to be Superboy Prime. I don't know what this means for Jordan. Is he going to be Superman Primer? I don't know what he's going to be. I mean, at first I thought he was going to be Brightburn and then Jonathan was going to be Superboy, but I don't know. But I am not ruling out Jonathan having powers because honestly, when that guy he fought started inhaling the X and then he hit him and he flew across the ground, he should have broken every bone in his effing body. He didn't do it once, he did it twice. And he was still able to walk and go home like nothing happened, like nothing happened. So he limped a little bit, but I feel like if he had been a normal human and not half Kryptonian, he probably would have been in the hospital. So just saying. Clark was very militant, which goes completely against who he is. So Clark was turning me on. There is a Derek from Teen Wolf I know. Henry Cavill Superman is a superior Superman, and he just can get it. Can't get it. Like, man, handle me. He is a boss, and he should. Okay. I don't have a problem with him being a parent because Arrowverse does not know how to write parents. We all know this. I just don't like that he's so harsh on Jonathan when he wasn't on Jordan, and he treats Jordan and Jonathan differently. He gives Jordan all the accolades and respect of being part Kryptonian, and he acts like his other son is not half of him because he doesn't have powers. He never took Jonathan to the Fortress of Solitude. He never took him to meet his grandfather. He never taught him the history. He only gave that to Jordan because Jordan had powers. That is bullshit. You have two sons, not one. How do you make enemies? How do you separate? How do you distance yourself from your kid? You pull favorites. You just play the favorites game. And so you can't play favorites and then get in your feelings when your son is acting out. I'm sorry, you can't do that. The portal scene in the cave looked great. Yeah, they spent money on that. They don't have regular Arrowverse budget. They got big time budget on that show. Yeah, Clark was being a little bit too harsh to Jonathan. I agree with you. Yep. Be with Diana of Paradise Island. Diana. What do we do with fear? We have no fear. That's what a certain Jon Stewart said to Batman. What you gonna do, Batman, when people don't fear you? Because guess what? I'm not scared of you. Also, how this grown man allowed to just walk into high school and threaten a minor. I know, right? Because Smallville can't afford a security guard. Mercenaries, this episode made the best Arrowverse for months for me. Jordan is MVP of like all the Arrowverse kids in that fight scene. I got goosebumps. The portal scene was hella awesome. When he showed up, he reminded me of Peter Parker before he got his suit. He also was giving me kick-ass vibes. Very like straight up kick-ass vibes. Let's be real. Jordan didn't want to go to that meeting, and I don't blame him. Yeah, because it's stupid. No boyfriend or girlfriend is just going to be best friends with the cheating person. What do you think this is? Super manipulative and selfish. I'm really not liking her lack of integrity. They write her like crap. They really do. Sarah is a user, and I really don't like how she is using Jordan and this girl to make herself feel better. I absolutely agree with that. The Sarah thing really keeps continuing to be divisive. because they write her like an idiot. The writers need to realize Naomi is part of the multiverse and a novice superhero. There's so much that can be written here if the writers and Avity would just let loose and explore. There is power here. I agree. Absolutely. Now let me ask my boyfriend if he would be cool with that. I'll wait. When you see me on a milk carton, I'll ask my spouse, "Hey, River, I've never cheated on you, but if I cheated on you, could we be friends with the person I made out with?" I'm like, don't let my quiet spouse fool you. River's not quiet. Have a beer. I wish I could. I'm allergic to alcohol. Alcohol and caffeine are two of my major allergies. Sarah lied. She is doing those space drugs when she made Jordan agree to that situation. She's got her own drug. She makes her own drug. It's in her body. It's called cray cray. Kevin, she is a manipulative user and she is toxic. Putting someone like that with Jordan, who is an emotionally ticking time bomb, is a recipe for disaster. Why is his family even allowing this to happen? Because they can't stop it. Jordan's an idiot. Sarah just gets on my nerves. She gets on mine. She's a horrible character. I do not like her. I'm sorry, but Sarah, I'm done. I'm sorry, but Sarah here, but I'm calling it. Sarah doesn't know what the hell she wants. She's 15. She should not be in a relationship with anybody. If Jordan flips out, they better not act surprised or blame him, because at this point, in the words of Melvira, they are complicit. Yep. If Jonathan flips out, I mean, I was expecting how Jonathan was looking at his dad and him telling Lois, I think dad hates me. And she's like, he doesn't hate me. He's just disappointed. I'm like, no, he acted like he effing hated his son. I mean, that was it. He was like, I already got another one. Let's just dump this one on the side of the road. Sarah reminds me of Cindy from Freaks and Geeks. I don't think I saw that show, so I'll have to check that out. Jermaine, the problem is Sarah literally wants everything, and this is the worst trope of bisexuality that is so dated. Yep, for 2022. This is like 90s or 80s writing. Yeah, they probably don't have anyone, queer in the writer's room, and more than likely there's not a POC either. Why does everyone keep drugging everyone? That's a damn good question, actually. You're not wrong. That is not. Why does everyone keep getting Bill Cosby? That's a whole other conversation. But she can't have everything, though. But she could have at least respect Jordan by not talking with Sarah's one-time flirt. I mean, not just talking, brought the girl in. The girl drove 2 hours there, too. Remember? Which means in this last episode, she did the same thing. This girl's putting a lot of mileage on her car for somebody she's just friends with. It doesn't make sense. So more than likely, they're going to put Sarah back with this girl. Honestly, this girl should be bisexual and she should be with Jordan, or Jordan, date the girl at the convenience store that, why not? Why can't he be with her? Why does he have to be with Sarah? I wonder if Lucy's other self in the bizarre world is Superwoman, like in the comics. That would be cool, but probably not. I love that the Irons have their own place now, which makes more sense than staying with the Kents. Yes, I am extremely happy about that. And I love how they explain how she got to this earth. I love that scene, and I loved her resolve. She didn't even know if she had enough food and oxygen to get to her dad, and she's like, "Take me to my dad." So I love that. That's the gag. This wasn't a one-time flirt. This seemed more like an entanglement at minimum. True. Yes, we must protect our Black characters on DC TV verse. I'm telling you, because they keep going and they keep writing them like they're cray cray. I don't understand what's happening at all. Like father, like daughter. Yes. Because that is exact. I mean, they should just walk around with a C on their shirt for cheaters, because that's what they are. I just feel bad for Jordan. I do too, because Jordan's made a lot of progress, and I'm wondering if this is going to make him shift back to his old self when he had anxiety and was angry all the time. To be honest, what they're asking this kid to do in the household is too much. Imagine being in her shoes with each member of the Kent family and then pretend like everything is normal. I mean, gaslighting. Agreed. 1,000,000,000%. Jordan deserves better. Absolutely. Maybe Jordan can date Nat. Jordan and Nat together. So does John, honestly. I agree. I am not protecting Chester P. He's not invited to the cookout. Cisco can be and has earned cookout invite status. That man has soul. I agree with that. Absolutely. The slow pacing of Naomi is probably why it won't get a second season. I mean, it might, but I have my doubts. I'm hoping that they do and they get new writers and maybe a new showrunner. John has the most average life of the Kent family in Kansas. It's weird to be in a family of legacy and be like the Mirabelle of this DC and Canto family. It's also weird that your human mother gets more clout than you when you are half Kryptonian. Like, that's problematic. And if you saw, like, I believe it was the trailer for next week, Jordan says to, I'm assuming it's Lois, I'm going to help Dad and you can't stop me. Which is true. She can't unless she pulls some kryptonite and shoves it up his ass. She can't do anything. So, like, that right there tells me right in that moment that, like, if she gets him to sit down, those three are the most powerful people in Smallville, and the poor son's on the sideline saying, but I'm here too. So when he gets powers, it's going to be interesting. Superman and Lois is a very good show. The only show better than this is Legends of Tomorrow. The Flash is still good, though. The Flash can be good at times. I like Iris's red hair. I don't know if they're trying to get her more to her comic. It was like reddish brown. I don't know if they're getting her more to her comic book like counterpart, because that was color that Iris's hair was a lot in the comics. But I do like that on her. It looks really good. Hopefully Batwoman doesn't come back from your mouth, Buddha, God, and anybody else you follow and worships ears, because Hunter Zolomon. So you want Hunter Zolomon to come into a show, or are you saying you saw Hunter Zolomon? Because I could have missed something. Naomi, best friend, Superboy from Titans, Wildcat from Stargirl, Hourman from Stargirl. Yeah, well, I love Stargirl, but I always have a problem with how they treat Beth too in that show, because Yolanda is actually the best friend of Courtney and not, Beth. Beth was always on the sidelines. Honestly, because of the relationship they had in Infinity Inc., I always felt like her and Hourman were BFFs in the Arrowverse, because they couldn't make them a couple yet, and plus they were full adults when they got their powers in the comics. So I don't know. I'm excited for the new season of Stargirl too. So I'm looking forward to seeing how all that plays out, because it's gonna be a good one, I'm sure. Let's see here. Cecilia is a grown-up in the room. Her resume speaks to authority and access. Cecilia is a wicked, powerful empath and or meta, and plays a key and personal position in relation to the core characters. For the most part, I agree with you, but lately she's been off her game, because this episode shows that she is judgmental. And as somebody who has made it her mission to help metas by fighting as their lawyer, she only showed a little bit of professionalism, a little bit of objectiveness, when she was automatically trying to convince Barry that he was wrong and this guy was guilty. I did not appreciate that at all. So, yeah, I don't like how they're writing her either. Correction, we must protect all well-written Black characters. You must protect every character, all of them. I mean, I will stretch to say that there are other POC characters that they take a shit on too, but I do think that in the Arrowverse, if you are Black, you are definitely character assassinated. And the very first time I saw this was a Mr. Terrific. Diggle was kind of treated at some points like a secondhand citizen in Arrowverse too, and then just kind of trickled down from there into other shows. So, like, it's always been this way. I don't know why. The only character in the Arrowverse that they do not treat like shit is Joe. And that's because Joe's actor would walk, and they fucking know it. And he is a bigger name than the other characters, and he would walk. So, yeah. It's crazy how Curtis, Luke, and Chester all fall into the same archetype of character. Yeah, Luke is the most annoying character, or especially Black male character, in all of the Arrowverse. He is written horribly. Horribly. He is worse than Chester is. I've gotten to the point where I just cannot stand that character. I always said Chester is annoying. The writers need to give him some gumption. They need to do something. He's whiny. But like Iris as a wife, daughter, and friend, all the things I like about Iris are pretty much in relation to her role to the core characters. I liked her as a reporter. I effing hate this, because Iris West was on the same level as Lois Lane. I mean, look back in the 50s and like Silver Age, and you would see how good of a reporter she was. She won a Pulitzer, and I want to say she won a Pulitzer way before Lois Lane did. But they don't give her that. Iris has not graduated with a degree in journalism. She graduated with a psychology degree, and she was working on her master's, if you remember in the pilot episode. She never finished her degree in like journalism, because she took it as an elective class. And somehow now, because she made a blog in season 1, she's a big time reporter. That is not how that works. So why didn't they just make her a journalism, student from the fucking get-go? It's just Arrowverse. I don't know why. Making the character black did not negate anything. Just because you're black does not mean you're not brilliant, beautiful, talented, can be on the same level of respect as Lois Lane. Because she is. I'm like, I don't understand that. Oh gosh. I don't think the Anthony and Nathan thing is organic or believable, to be honest. It's fast. So I agree with you. But I will say that they spend more time together than Naomi, which is what I was talking about. They are together more. The money issue that you bring up in the Arrowverse, I have the similar problem in the show Schitt's Creek. I love Schitt's Creek. But that show is meant to be stupid. So anything you tell me about that, I'll believe. Best BFF of the month for CW will go to Kayla, hands down. Oh, you mean her best friend? Well, CW, yes. So I will give it to Brit for CW, but it's definitely Annabelle in Arrowverse. I believe Z is a better trainer for what is to come and preparing her for what could be. Unless he's training her to get her powerful enough to take her powers or to do something to her. I don't think his end game is as pure as everyone thinks. So yeah, if it follows the comics, he's the reason she's there. When Naomi worked better in an animated series, I would love to see that as an animated series. I don't, like I said, it's not bad in live action. It's just they need to pick up the pace and stop focusing on the Scooby-Doo gang or the Buffy gang. What privacy when your son is dealing with drugs and a drug dealer? Hey, you're speaking to the choir here. I get it, but I'm just telling you how they are. Low-key, I don't blame Jonathan. I would try the inhaler. They don't understand what's wrong with him. None of them asked him. Like, he told Lois, but he's never had a conversation with his dad. Dad, you are playing favorites between me and my twin because he has powers and I haven't gotten any. And you're treating me like I'm not a big deal or I'm not important. I am just as important as my brother, whether I can fucking fly or not. You know, it's just like, it's a thing. I blame Clark for this. Jonathan is stable and that sucks, but it's a different situation than Jordan, who is now a nuke. John is getting treated like a teenager and Jordan is getting treated like he could be on Injustice. Hell, after Sarah, he probably can be on Injustice. The No Fear quote is my favorite of Justice League movie and Snyderverse superior version. Arrowverse has literally named one of its greatest characters Sarah of the Legends and one of its worst with Sarah from Superman and Lois. Yeah, that's true. They made Lana Superwoman in the bizarre world. Everybody's had a turn. Every love interest gets to be a hero in every comic. You know that. I would like to see a story arc on Superman and Lois featuring Ultraman as the main antagonist. That would be awesome. Jordan has really grown on me, and he's such a sweet, superpowered time bomb. Yeah, he's definitely changed a lot since season 1. Has anyone heard new on Stargirl or DC Titans? Not yet. I am looking for news on them, though. I did read it, a confirmation 2 to 3 months ago that in the multiverse, the DC and the variants have identical genetic codes for the most part on different Earths. I don't like how they handle the multiverse in the DC or Arrowverse universe. I can't say DCEU yet because we haven't gotten there technically. We have and we haven't. But this, I can't. Arrowverse, they're so back and forth, and every time something storyline doesn't come up or they create a plot hole, they blame it on Crisis, and it drives me insane. Nate has half the same genetic code as Jonathan and Jordan. If you took them to the lab in a world where their multiverse isn't known, you would from afar genetically know them as siblings, even though they are not. Well, I mean, there's a big thing about them being twins in the first place, because remember, before Crisis, they didn't have twins. However, if Nat and one of the Kent boys had a child due to genetic reasons, the child will come out like Bunny from the Powerpuff Girls, and Jordan is not working with a full arc reactor already. I think that would be it. I think they would have Buttercup would be their child. Hi, Ryan. How are you? Lois has the Justice League on speed dial, supervillains, world leaders, and been to other planets and dimensions. Lois is untouchable in her credentials. She can't argue with that. I'll Google her. Yeah, but you really should Google Iris West because Iris West's history is just as colorful. Believe me. And she also had the Justice League on standby because her nephew actually was Kid Flash. And, her husband was the Flash. And there's tons about her. Plus, her own backstory is so freaking cool, being actually from the future. So it's like she doesn't have any of the cool shit that she should have in the Arrowverse. Something I also think that I want to discuss when we're thinking about Lois is Lois. I was thinking about Lois and Cat Grant. And most of the comic versions, Cat Grant and Lois were the same age. But that's impossible now because Supergirl was on the same Earth as Superman and Lois, and Cat Grant should be 20 years older than Lois. So I don't understand the age gap and the rivalry between these two when they weren't even on the same level. Like whenever Cat would talk about Lois, she would talk about her like she would take all of these stories from her and blah, blah, blah. But Cat should have been the one that was mentoring Lois if you're going by age and how long you've been at the Daily Planet. So that is always, whenever they do this shit, it confuses the hell out of me. I'm just putting it out there. If I were Lois, my line would be, because I am Lois Lane, Google me. You have failed the city in my Oliver voice. That would track in Smallville since she dated Ollie in Smallville. Poor pacing is a good way for writers and directors to alienate potential audiences. I hope they learn. I hope so too. Wait, I think there was this thing when a guy who was a villain killed someone on our Earth and left his DNA, and then the cops found the innocent supportive hero version of our Earth. He was framed. Don't forget to thumbs up the stream. Yes, please give it a thumbs up. We like thumbs. Thumbs are friends. Friends. Maria, have you seen the show Astrid and Lily Save the World? It's on Sci-Fi. It's on episode 9 now. I haven't, but somebody showed me a clip from it, and apparently there's LGBTQ in it, so I have to check that out. I like to get things when they're on demand, so I'll probably wait till I guess the season's done to try and watch it. I still have not done my Batman review, or the Batman review, and I need to do that too. So it's going to be late, but it's coming. And I just finished, what did we just finish? Upload season 2 on Amazon Prime. And I love that show, and it's completely on crack. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying. There's this YouTuber called Dynamic Films that has uploaded a video about Arrow season 9. Wow. Like potential? What? I'm like, that's interesting. Have we seen Red Kryptonite used yet? Like it was on Smallville? Not yet, but I am here for it. I want them to go through the whole cornucopia of colors. I think that'd be awesome. I also would love to have, if they canceled Batwoman, I would love to have Wallace Day come back and do cameo as Batwoman I would love to have her be in DCEU as Batwoman. I think that would be cool. I would be on board with that. Will your Kung Fu review be live this week? No, it will be videos. I'm going to do episodes 2 and 3 back to back, and I will post them tomorrow. So we'll be filming them. I've seen both episodes. I really enjoyed, especially this last one. And the direction they're going, I thought was going to be stupid, but I'm actually I'm here for it. And I'm loving Ryan and Sebastian a lot. So yeah, Kung Fu season 2 actually is picking up nicely for me. So and I support the show because the writing is not as bad. There were some things I did pick out. I have my little nitpicks, and we'll talk about that because I think they're funny. I can even say a few of them here, but I don't want to spoil anybody if they haven't seen Kung Fu, especially last week's. But there are a few things that I had to say. So there you go. I have a few little things that I have to just point out. Zach Braff wants to be Blue Beetle in his reunion with the actor who plays Booster Gold, since they are both from Scrubs. That would be very funny if that happened. So I don't know. What is Zach's ethnicity, though? I don't know if he'd be able to do that. Just type the name in the video is there. I'll have to check that out. Thank you. Do you think Kung Fu is helpful or hurtful to the discussion in 2022? I think Kung Fu is its own thing. I think for Asians, having a show that's predominantly Asian is something that's not really heard of in entertainment. So that's a big deal. My daughter, she's half Asian. My spouse is Asian. I'm only this much, but not really. I don't claim it. But I feel like everybody should have a show that shows who you really are, not stereotypically. And I feel like Kung Fu actually kind of pulls that off, because we're not just dealing with people that are Chinese American. We're dealing with people that have a handle on their history, but are also dealing with modern day issues, like how can you help your neighbor save, their business, or how do you help your family cope with trauma and grief and loss, and how do you keep yourself afloat? And unlike other CW shows, Kung Fu does have money issues. When they have money issues, they have money issues. They're not just sitting here like, I wonder how I'm going to do this. Like Nikki has to whole ass live in her parents' house because she can't afford her own rent. She's a dishwasher. So, it is what it is. I like the show. I think my point of view, I don't think it takes away from anything that we're talking about in 2022. But to be fair, the CW, even though they dare to defy, is not a network for me that is a positive influence on the conversations in 2022, because they're very, very stereotypical. So that's just my opinion now. Why did the CW take the Republic of Sarah down? That was such a good show. It really was. I don't know why they didn't renew season 2, or didn't renew it for season 2, because it was enjoyable and I was engaged every week. I don't know why they did that, because I really liked season 1. It's a shame, but the CW would rather give you, Dynasty and, season 47 of Riverdale than give you a show that actually has and makes sense, like has a plot and character development and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's stupid, but it is what it is, I guess. Is what it is. Wong is the superior supreme to the two who have known, despite being far less powerful than the predecessors. Does Wong even stand a chance against what is to come? Good question. Oh, are you guys excited? Because we're going to start reviewing next week Moon Knight. I'm excited. The trailer looks good. I'm excited. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it on Wednesday nights or if I'm going to do it on Fridays. I really got to figure that out, because I guess I'm going to have to do it on Wednesday evenings, because Charm's on Friday night. I'm trying to get all of my stuff. There's so many things coming out that I review. So I'm like trying to get a good calendar down. That's why I have my planner, so I can schedule all this stuff out. I really like the show Kung Fu, but I wish Kung Fu fantasy elements in the show were as well handled as the family and relationship elements in the show. I agree. And maybe we're going to get that later. I mean, we don't know. We're still early in. We're only in episode 3. So with the bell and all the stuff happening, which we'll talk about in the video, maybe that is something that's going to happen later. So no, I will say Lady Z's fight in the prison was still really effing cool. So I'm here for that. Who is watching Republic of Sarah? I'm still shocked Nancy Drew and Riverdale has gone this far. I know. And Nancy Drew just got renewed, and so did Riverdale. So I don't get it. How powerful is Moon Knight? Nothing is consistent. I'm frustrated. Why compare an Avatar to Batman? Yeah, so we're going to have a lot to talk about with Moon Knight. I can see that when it airs. First episode should be next Wednesday. So I am excited on that. So be on the lookout, because I will be reviewing. Of course, I'm going to review every MCU show. The only MCU property I have not watched is Black Widow. It's only because I don't like her. But, it is a thing. All right, guys, we are at 1 hour and 47 minutes. I feel my sinuses closing, so I'm about to cut loose, make me some ginger tea, and live my life. But I will be setting up the stream for tomorrow night. So Charm is going to be 8:30 Central Standard Time. I'm also going to make the streams for the Owl House and for Yashahime tomorrow. And then, of course, I do have a collaboration I'm working on. I just did one today with Victoria, but that's for my Mixed by Genetics channel. If you have not subscribed to Mixed by Genetics, please do, because that's where all my mixed content has gone. And we have another crazy episode for you guys on something we found online yet again. So make sure to check that out. It's not going to be a long video. I think it's probably about 18 minutes at max, I believe it is. So haven't finished editing it. I do have a lot of videos that I'm making, because I want to make sure I have more content since I'm slower releasing stuff. So we do have more stuff coming, including, I know I've been promising you some spotlights, starting with Wildcat, and it is coming, I promise you. I also need to post on my Approach the Yuri channel. So if you are subscribed to that, it is coming. And of course, I'm working on my first character intro for Warriors of Sarah. It will be released the first week of April. It's on one of the first characters. There are 18 main characters in that motion comic that I'm created, and so you'll get to know my first character. So I will post that for those of you who are subscribed to Warriors of Sarah. So I got a lot going on. Bear with me. Just bear with me. But yeah. So thank you for joining me for Arrowverse weekly recap. You know, this is our funnest time during the week. Make sure to tune in tomorrow because you know we're gonna talk smack about Charm because we have to do it. And guys, if it is day for you, have a very good day. If it is evening for you, have a very good evening. And I will see you in my next stream and in my next videos. Bye, guys.